Chapter 2, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Stunned silence. That is what I recall in those first few seconds when I heard the voice of my business partner. In an instant, I knew my life would never be the same. The next few seconds were a blur as I tried to clear my mind and formulate my response. "Chuck, did you hear what I said?" my partner asked. Just moments ago, I was in the flow as I taught a class in Boise, Idaho. It was going great. The participants were responding, getting their credits, and having a good time as well. I could tell that another good evaluation was forthcoming and that I'd be asked to teach more classes. There was nothing quite like speaking to 20, 200, or 2,000 people. I love teaching, and students love me. I felt on top of the world. As we broke for lunch, I noticed a message slip on the door for me. I usually didn't get a message to call back to my office. Most of the time, I knew that in my absence they had everything under control. I wasn't concerned about the call. My only dilemma was when to call. Considering the different time zones, if I wanted to call back after the class, the office would be closed. So my decision was to take some of my lunch break and return the call. Not expecting the call to be significant or take long, I moved away from the noise of the lunch area and placed the call. I was stunned by what I heard. "Chuck, one of your clients called earlier today and said you had helped him invest some money. His circumstances have changed and he needs to liquidate that investment immediately. I know you will not be back until Friday, so tell me where the file is and I'll get the process started." Most of the time, I am not at a loss for words. I felt the room spin and held onto the wall. In the entirety of the universe, there are only two entities who knew the truth: God and I. As I heard those words, I knew my life would change forever and that the truth would be known by many. My earlier elation about the success of the class was quickly gone, and I saw my life pass in front of me as if I were dying. "Did you hear what I said?" my partner asked. I found my voice. "Yes, so sorry, Dan," I responded. I was distracted by one of our class participants. We just broke for lunch." "Well, you get on to class. Just tell me what to do and where the file is, and I'll help get the liquidation started." He seemed real antsy about his money. What my partner did not know, what no one knew, was that I had not invested money for clients. I had stolen money from clients. There was nothing to liquidate, and there was no way I could create that kind of money my client needed in order to repay my theft. The theft I had perpetrated over the past several years and the illusion of grand success I created was rapidly crashing. I had no clue what to say. I could only buy time. "Dan, you don't know where to begin. Let me make a few calls and get the process started. I'll be back in the office on Friday. Just give my client a call and let him know it's under control. Now, sorry, but I've got to get back to class." And with those words, the call ended. I had bought myself some time. But time for what? No one in the class I was teaching knew what had just happened. The folks at my office had no clue what was going to happen. My client had no clue that the funds he needed weren't there. Most importantly, my family had no clue that their life was about to change radically. The choices I had made were destined to have a dramatic effect on everyone I had touched. The time for real consequences and drama to unfold was now. The rest of the day was a blur. There is not one thing I remember about the afternoon session I was teaching. The participants were laughing, posing questions, and engaged. I don't remember even being there. I was hungry before I made the call at our lunch break, but after the call, I couldn't eat a thing. All I recall was a numb, spacey feeling. I was powerless. No longer was I in control. I had been on a merry-go-round for some time, and today, this day, the universe said, enough. I was flung off, and I could tell that the landing was going to be hard. As the class ended and the last participant made his exit, I sat in the empty hotel conference room drained, sick to my stomach, not knowing what to do or what steps to take. I can't say my life had been without challenges. In most cases, I rose to the occasion and met them head on. This time, though, was different. My choices had made my life unimaginable. There was nowhere to turn that would solve the mess I had created. I was good at creating the illusions, but I could think of nothing that would allow me to escape the fate which I was coming to realize I must face. Nothing. Until that point, I had dismissed people who had expressed feelings of despair or depression as weak. As egotistical as it sounds, I felt that those of keen mind could always be in control of themselves and their emotions. And I felt I was one of those. No depression for me. Since then, I've come to understand the feelings that certainly can come from personal feelings of powerlessness. As smart as I thought I was not smart enough to avoid universal laws and their application. Every choice has a consequence, and I was quickly becoming aware that I had no power over the consequences that were about to unfold. All I could do for the moment was sit like a whipped pup in an empty conference room and cry, hoping the maintenance staff would stay away long enough for me to compose myself. As I collected my thoughts that fateful day and reluctantly went to my room in the hotel for the evening, I knew one thing for certain. The choices that brought a temporary illusion of joy were causing me to look squarely in the mirror. And I didn't like what I saw. There was no joy in my eyes that night. I saw only the pain my decisions were about to cause those I loved and who loved me. Physical pain is just not something I'm good with. I've often said that I'm allergic to needles, as I can't stand the pain of a simple shot or bee sting. Yet that night, I contemplated suicide. Desperation soon set in as I lay in my hotel bed contemplating the trip back home the next morning. What would I say to my business partners? What would I say to my wife? What lay ahead for my life? With 2 young children at home, what would happen if my wife left with the children and I never saw them again? I was at a breaking point, feeling that I had no control and no value. In my current state, I was useless to my partners. In fact, I was a severe detriment. Everything my wife and I had worked for was about to vanish. Only she didn't know that. Furthermore, the career I had worked so hard to craft was going to disintegrate in a matter of hours. I had no control. I was powerless. The only rational action I could think of was ending my life. Thank God for that major phobia of mine, fear of pain. The problem with suicide was that everything I thought of involved pain. I even considered jumping off the building, but the distance between the leap and the final impact caused me some serious worry. What would I be thinking during those few seconds? More importantly, good Lord, that would hurt. At 7:11 p.m. that evening, I grabbed the yellow pages and began calling clinics, anyone who I thought might help me. Frankly, I don't recall what I was looking up. I do remember that there were no listings under suicide. In fact, that wasn't a category. So I looked up physicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, anything that started with a P. Honestly, I don't remember who I did call. Proctologist, as far as I knew. The only thing that flooded my mind was I needed help.
You've reached the office of doctors. Our office hours are from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our office is closed. But if you'll leave your name and number, we'll be happy to call you first thing in the morning. Have a nice day.
Somehow, when you're thinking of ending your life, have a nice day just doesn't seem appropriate. And unfortunately, that's the message I got over and over. Calling became an obsession. It was the one thing I could do, one action that I felt in life I had some control over. Just one more dial, I would say to myself as I pressed the buttons on the phone, listening to the ring, hoping for an answer.
Dr. Benson's office.
That was the second time that day I was stunned. After getting recording after recording, I was somewhat unprepared for the possibility that someone would answer. Yet, someone did. I need to talk to somebody. I'm from out of town, I somehow stammered.
Actually, our office is closed. I was just walking out the door and thought this was my wife. Give us a call in the morning.
I'm thinking of committing suicide. Silence. Then the voice said,
Let's talk.
For the life of me, I can't recall what was said between us as I lie on that lonely hotel bed. We could have talked for 2 minutes, 20 minutes, or 2 hours. I just don't remember. What I do recall is that this total stranger, a man who I had never met, took the time to help me see past the grand illusion I had created and uncover the real me inside. That night was the darkest night of my soul. That call that I shared didn't make it better. It didn't eliminate the consequences. It didn't remove the pain. Rather, it gave me hope. Hope that if I could make poor choices that would most certainly bring painful consequences, I also possess the power to make positive choices with positive results. His comment to me still resounds in my heart today. He said, "You have made a terrible mistake, but you are not a mistake. The choices you make moving forward will define your life forever and provide the foundation for your children's lives. Think carefully as you make this choice." When he said to me, "You are not a mistake," it hit me. While this past cannot be changed, the life we are given and the choices we make moving forward are the only things that count. I felt a burden lifted. I could not change the past. All I could do was face the consequences. It was within my power to make good choices, and now, in the future, that would produce a fruitful outcome. That was my destiny. In the years since that fateful night, time after time, I have wondered who I talked with that dismal evening. I'm quite certain that on that morning so many years ago, this individual didn't get up, prepare for work, kiss his wife goodbye, and leave saying, "I'm going to save a life today." No. Rather, I suspect it was a normal day for him, just like it started out being a normal day for me. But for both of us, that day ended on a profound note. I just wish I could say thank you. Perhaps the best way to repay my debt to a man who took time away from his family to save mine is to pay it forward. How many times have people unexpectedly come into our lives and had an unexpected impact? Perhaps we may experience a kind comment or someone taking time to listen when we needed to be heard. Paying it forward, however, means we need to be that person to someone else. Are we prepared to stop and listen? Are we willing to help others when they need our support? Can we listen unconditionally? Is it possible that we might be called upon one day when we least expect it, just like my angel that night? Looking back, it was a pivotal moment when there was no escaping the choices I had made and the consequences that in my heart I surely knew would follow. This was that moment for me. But what about for you? Time and time again, as I share this story with others, I find people approaching and telling me their defining moment. We all at some point in our lives find ourselves imprisoned by our own choices. The question remains, what prison are you in? Some choices seem so small and insignificant at the time that we hardly even notice them. Often, the choices we make define the prison we find ourselves in and the drama that plays out in our lives. The first time you make the choice to smoke cigarettes seems irrelevant until the last years of life when you might find your body racked with emphysema or you're dying of lung cancer. That first drink of alcohol rarely is considered significant. To some, it never is. Yet to many, the consequences of alcohol are debilitating and destructive. They can lead to consequences that are life-changing for all who are connected. Perhaps you come from a loving and close-knit family. Then a parent dies and harsh words are spoken as funeral and estate decisions have to be made. The family splits, and years later you find yourself longing for the relationship you once had. Every choice has a consequence. The mystery behind choices and consequences is that we often don't realize the magnitude of what we do until it's too late. Then we often wish we could rewind the tape and choose something different. As my partner spoke those words on the phone, I wish I had made different choices because the consequences of my actions would be enormous. A friend of mine recently asked me if I would consider mentoring a young man, 23 years old, who was in prison as a result of his choices. She explained that when he was 20 years old, he was out with his buddies drinking and he was the designated driver. He elected to drink, perhaps not at the rate of his friends, but he drank. He was underage. When they left the bar, he was tossed the keys by his plastered friend. The drunk buddy began prodding the driver to pass that slow car in front of them. Not wanting to bring attention to them, the driver followed slowly for a while. Meanwhile, the prodding persisted until the designated driver could take it no more. With a quick jerk, he maneuvered the truck into the opposite lane to pass. Control was lost. The truck flipped. His buddy was thrown from the vehicle, and the vehicle landed on his body. Manslaughter was the verdict. Days later, the parents and loved ones of the man killed in this tragic accident played out what is seen daily in cemeteries across the nation: the burial of a life tragically lost. The driver was devastated at the death of his friend, not to mention his 10-year sentence. The parents and loved ones of the driver will be reminded forever of the choice made that fateful night that wrought a tragic consequence. The consequence was quick and certain. That doesn't always happen. In fact, many may be lulled into the false belief that there is no consequence if they don't see one quickly. How dangerous. We cannot escape the consequences of our actions and choices. No matter how hard we try, there is always a consequence. That is a universal law. In the past, I was very judgmental about people and their lives. I was arrogant in my judgment. Although a part of me still carries some of that today, I have learned compassion. The situations we find ourselves in are often created by our own choices. One lady I recently talked with said rather indignantly, "Surely you don't think that somehow I was responsible for that, do you?" At the risk of alienating some of you who read this book, I must say, yes. I think by our choices we create our lives, our outcomes, our consequences, whether good or bad. We create them. I understand we are all spiritual beings having human experiences. While every choice has a consequence and some aren't so pleasant, those who suffer dreaded outcomes still feel pain. As humans, we can feel compassion, even though often the outcome in pain may be justified. Many of us learn our lessons best through hitting rock bottom and experiencing the pain that accompanies the consequences that follow. Ask yourself honestly, what in your life would you truly like to change? Would you like your relationship with your spouse, children, or parents to be better? If you could, would you undo some choice, hidden though it might be, that you made in the past? Would you change your eating habits, stop smoking, stop drinking? What would you do that, if done correctly, would bring you true joy? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Sometimes looking in the mirror forces us to look past the illusions we've created to the reality hidden beneath our well-crafted surface. Maybe just then we can grasp the reality of how to begin to loosen those chains that bind us to the prisons we've created and enjoy the blessings of true freedom. The fact that we might have avoided the consequence only plays to the illusion that there isn't one. However, illusions are funny things. They appear real. We can trick our conscious mind into believing that the illusion we see or we live is reality. Yet in the end, we cannot escape the outcomes from the choices we make. In the end, when we look in the mirror, the one person who is always there when the drama unfolds is the person who made the choice. In my case, that was me.